we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Visionary Souls. I'm so excited to be here with you today, and I have a very, very special guest, Daniel Scranton, who is an incredible channel, guide, teacher, Reiki master. I mean, he's a teacher and really a guide to, I would say, who knows how many people, infinite beings all over the world and beyond multiple dimensions. And Daniel has personally just been very supportive for me and my journey through his mailing list and his posts and his readings on the current state of affairs in terms of the global awakening happening on the planet. And I just thank you so much, Daniel, for being here today. I'm so excited to learn more about you. How are you feeling today?
I feel so good today. I'm so glad we're doing it today on a day when I'm like got all my energy.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that's such a great place to start, because I feel like, it's so important to share that exact, that experience, especially as teachers, as guides, as coaches, that not every single day is like a totally on day. Like, to be completely honest, I'm not feeling super great today. Like, I'm feeling really energetically kind of like just down, like a little bit, like I have some old emotion surfacing and some feelings coming up, which I've been allowing to come up. And it's just, I'm not like super happy, amazing glitter, flowers, magic everywhere as I typically feel like I am a lot of the time. And yeah, and I just love to share that as permission, because I think people see, especially see us, people see us like teachers and people that share visibly and are creating awesome content and supporting people as they could see us in a way that's like maybe being put on a pedestal, or can feel like, oh man, like I have to be on all the time too, and that's just not the case.
No.
No. So I'd love to know a little bit more about where are you at right now in the world? You're in Hawaii, and I want to go right into the story of how you got to be where you are, and really how did you, and maybe it's a long story, but maybe you just share what feels most alive for you now in terms of your journey. How did you arrive to becoming, to being the channel, the guide, the teacher that you are today? Where did that really begin for you?
Yeah. Well, I like telling the whole story because it shows that
Cool.
it can happen for anyone. You don't like, I know people who do what I do who are like, oh, from the time I was 3 years old, I knew this, and this. And that was not the case for me. I was raised in a conservative Catholic family in Connecticut. We went to church every Sunday. I was totally afraid of God. I just wanted to be the best little Christian I could be. And even after I got my license, I would go to church by myself. I'd drive myself to church. So that's how like ingrained it was into me. And then I went to college, and in college I was like, oh, so all these stories in the Bible, they're also in all these other cultures throughout history. It's not just like the Christian, story. It's like everyone's story.
Mm-hmm.
So then it made me question everything. And so I went through a period of like gradually becoming an atheist. So by the time I was 25, I was fully atheist, and I didn't want to be. I wasn't like happy about being atheist. I just didn't believe in anything.
Mm.
And so then, for a couple of years there, I was just living my life and not really wanting to think about anything having to do with God or death or any of those big subjects, So I just living my life. And then the next thing I know, I'm hired by this guy, and he wants me to listen to Tony Robbins' Personal Power 2 as part of like all the employees had to do it. So I got to the last CD, and it was Deepak Chopra. And I really liked him. I liked what he was saying, and it wasn't the spiritual stuff at that point. It was the health stuff, because I was fully like way into my raw foodism, and just like, didn't ever want to take a pharmaceutical, and just thought the body was so powerful, the body can heal itself. That was my belief. And that was what he was talking about, which led me to investigate more of what Deepak was talking about. And then once he starts talking about like the quantum universe and how everything is connected, and you give your attention to this thing and it changes it. And I was like, oh, okay. So there is really more going on here than I thought. So that shattered the whole atheism thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just got into everybody, Wayne Dyer and Ram Dass and Deepak Chopra and Yogananda and Conversations with God and Conversations with God was the first thing I ever picked up and got into that was channeled.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think of it as channeled at the time, but the woman I had been working with as a spiritual teacher at the time, she said, "Oh, you like channeled stuff? You should check these books out." And they're called Emmanuel's books.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 of them. They were channeled, and they were good. And they on the back of one of them, I saw Seth, a reference to Seth. So then I got way into Seth for like 2 years, just reading as much Seth material as on like these groups, like online groups where you discuss Seth and everything. And people would mention Abraham on these groups. Finally, this one woman, she convinced me that I had to check out Abraham. So I was like, okay. So I checked out Abraham and I liked it. I liked the vibe of not only the message, but the people who were so more supportive. Everyone in the Seth groups were like fighting all the time. Yeah, you do it. You create what you want. So I was like, oh, this feels really nice. And got my hands on some Abraham tapes, like actual audio cassette tapes. This is like 2000.
Wow.
And I listened to it. My car had a cassette deck because it was a 1995. So I'd listen to cassette tapes over and over and over and over. And then finally went to my first Abraham workshop in 2005 in Sedona. First time ever in Sedona.
Wow.
It was so magical and beautiful, and the whole experience. I got called on. I got to ask my questions. People there were so friendly. And then I was fully in. So I was fully in the Abraham world from like 2005 to 2011. 2010 is when everything blew up for me. I was on an Abraham cruise and I was doing Reiki on someone. And I had my hands on her back, and at the end of the session, they weren't on her back anymore. So I thought she had moved, but my hands had actually moved, and I felt, for the first time, I really felt energy moving through me. It was like, it made me gasp at some point. So then I just wanted to do Reiki on everybody. I was like doing it remotely to people. I'd work on my massage therapist before our massage. She'd come to my house once a week. So my hands would start out on her, and one at a time, they would move up and go like this. And I wasn't doing it. I was just like observing it, just watching it happen. And then it would stop and the other one would go. Then my head started to go like this. And again, I'm just like letting it happen. I'm not doing it. And then I started going like this. And I thought, whoa, channeling. I can channel. I didn't think I could channel. I never thought about it. So that was around February 2010. March of 2010 is when I had the life-altering experience of a massive download of energy in the middle of the night. So I'm dreaming, and I'm dreaming with a guy who I knew from Abraham cruises and stuff. And I just turned to the guy and I said, I understand now about the other beings. That was it. That was the whole dream. We were like standing in desert. Wow. I wake up from that dream and I start receiving energy in the crown of my head, lying in bed, goes all the way down through the soles of my feet, and it's totally orgasmic. I'm lifted up off the bed with my back arched because I'm in such ecstasy. So then I'm just like asking for more, and I'm wondering, I'm like, what does this have to do with that dream? And then I thought, what does this have to do with aliens? And as soon as I thought the word aliens, a huge surge of it. And then I was just like, aliens, 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 to like keep the energy moving. Then I start talking to them, and if the answer was yes, I would get a surge of energy. And if it was no, I get nothing. Then I wanted to see them, so I opened my eyes for the first time. And I'm looking around the room. I didn't see anything, but it was like the energy starts flooding in again because I think because I'm just open to it, So that I don't even know how long that went on for that night. After that, I had already been meditating every day for like over 10 years. And my meditations were long. They were like 45 minutes to an hour every day. But I was like going for 2 hours after that because I just wanted to get that feeling back again. I just wanted to have more of that type of experience. So for the next 7 months, I'm like, I'm spending hours in meditation. I'm getting to the point where I can give myself goosebumps, drop of the hat, no problem. But I couldn't get to that point again. But I did have this experience where if I got really deep into meditation, I would have dry heaves. So dry heaves are like when you're going to throw up, like that, but there's nothing coming up. It's just the people, I think in England call it retching. It's just like that feeling like you're going to do it. And I get that in these deep meditations. So I'm sitting at an Abraham workshop in October of 2010, and I start doing it, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this in the middle of this. Better shut that down. But I was really good at tuning into energy at that point. So I could tune into it and that would happen, but I could also just let it go. So then that night was one of the first times I really tried to channel. I had some friends at the workshop with me. We got together in one of our hotel rooms, and they sat there and they basically watched me do this. Like that's all that was happening. and no words, no nothing. So they're like, you got to ask Abraham about this. And so it was 2 days.
Yes.
So I got to go the next day, sitting in the front row, waited for the first half of the day, didn't raise my hand the whole first half of the day. After lunch, my friend Anne gets called into the hot seat. She's sitting there talking to Abraham. And I'm just watching my hand go like this. I'm not doing it. I'm just watching it happen. And so by the time Anne gets out of the hot seat, I'm like this, and it's just like total goosebumps all up and down. Of course, they called on me. So I asked, what is going on? What is this? Is this really what's happening? And Abraham said, yeah. They said, you need to practice. You need to work through this resistance that's coming through you in the dry heaves. So I practiced for like 3 to 4 weeks with someone over Skype for like 45 minutes to an hour. I'd be able to hold that energy in me, nothing coming out. And then finally the creators came through me and said, we are here for you. And that's what they always say whenever I channel, whenever they're coming in initially. That's what they say. So that's how it all started. That was about November 2010.
Wow, that is so amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. It's so powerful. And I love that you just like the way you started, like I had no idea this is gonna happen. And it's so
no, and I was 38.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. And so what was it that like this energy was coming through? You had been meditating, you had been tapped into like quantum healing, all these different things. Was there like you felt a call? Did you feel a call at any point to really like be?
I was actually married at the time. My first wife seemed like she'd be the perfect candidate to be the channel, and I'll be the Jerry. Like I always wanted to be the Jerry, and I wanted to have an Esther.
Yeah.
I had a friend that I met through, like this was like one of the first people I met through Abraham. And she would channel for me for a little while, and then she stopped. I don't know why she didn't want to do it anymore. But I thought, like, I found it, like she'll be the one, and we'll travel around and we'll do what Jerry and Esther are doing. No idea it was going to be me.
Yeah. When did it become clear to you that it was you, and there was this all sorts of different beings and energies that were going to come through you? When did that start to get more clear for you?
Well, as soon as I started channeling, I said, okay, one of the principles of Bashar is if you want to do something, then you just do it. It's like that whole act as if thing. Yeah. I don't really like the expression fake it till you make it. I don't like that for some reason, but I like act as if. So I was acting like I was doing what I wanted to do immediately. I was like, okay, people, I knew all these people. You want me to channel for you? Let's do it. I'll channel for you. I had a friend who had a office in San Diego. She hosted my first workshop with like 6 people, you know. And then the second time we did that, this woman came who was brought by a friend, and she was like, hey, come do this at my house. So the first time I went to her house, we had like 35 people there. Now, obviously, out of those 35 people, it didn't resonate with everyone because I had like a group of like 12, 13 people that would come every time I would do one of these workshops in someone's home in San Diego County. I didn't really start taking it seriously and making it into a business until December 2012. Mm-hmm. One of my exes, she totally convinced me, like, you got to do this and you got to do that, and your website is terrible, and you you need to have this, and you don't even have a shopping cart and all this stuff. So thankfully, you know, she got me to put myself out there more. And the initial fear of putting myself out there, and I think this is for a lot of people too, is that I didn't know if it was real. You know, like I knew like the stuff that's happening that I described, the involuntary movements, the energy in the middle of the night, even like the toning that comes through me, that's totally involuntary. That I couldn't deny, but I couldn't say like this is true, like what I'm channeling, because there's no way to verify it. You know, a lot of the stuff about planets and star systems and past lives and all that stuff. So basically what I relied on, and I still rely on, is people like you and other people who tell me, oh my God, this is so helpful. This is really, so then, and I love what Daryl, Anka, and Bashar say about it. They're like, you know, take what resonates and leave the rest behind. And if it doesn't work for you, then you'll find it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But I know that like what I do is not for everyone. So I would never look at this as like a religion. Like I don't need people. I don't need everyone to have a consensus about it, because I think it's the one truth in the universe. I just know that it's helpful for some people. So those are the people that I'm here to help, you know.
Amen. Thank you. That's such an important distinction. And what do you think? Do you believe that every single person has the ability to channel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, if you broaden your definition of channeling, then everyone's channeling all the time. Because what are we doing other than we're tapping into thought forms, thought streams, different aspects of our ego, different aspects of our past life selves. You know, you can say something or do something, and you can feel sometimes like, is this really me? Like I don't. This doesn't seem like it's me. That's like, especially when I get into arguments sometimes, like I don't even recognize this person, you know? So we're always channeling something. So basically what we do when we channel these higher frequency beings is we just put ourselves in a higher frequency state so that they have access to us, we have access to them, we're meeting them somewhere, merging consciousness in a sense. So in a sense, every time I channel the creators, I'm becoming them. You know, it's a process of integration.
Can you share a little bit about, for people that are listening and maybe have never heard that term, and they're maybe like, you know, new? I mean, I think we all, for the most part, maybe have a reference point or certain assumptions about what channeling is and our own, you know, definition of what that means. But in terms of the creators, what is that? I mean, what does that mean for you? How would you describe that energy?
Well, before I do that, I want to, because when you were asking the question, I thought you were going to ask something else. So
Okay.
I want to say that for me, channeling is not the creators come in to me and then I'm like the sock puppet and they're doing
Yeah.
this. I don't see it that way, because even though they're moving my body and they're making tones through me and stuff, um, I still have to make sense out of what I'm getting.
Yes.
And that's very much a subconscious process.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's a conscious process. Sometimes you're channeling and you're like, what are they trying to say? You're trying to find the right word for it. So, and there's different degrees of consciousness that a channel can be in.
Hmm.
You can be unconscious, which is people call trance channeling. You can be semi-conscious, you can be totally conscious. My friend Nora, when she channels, she'll be like, talking to you. She'll be like, and then she'll say, like, ah, da, 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 da. So when she makes that sound, the Pleiadians are coming in. It's really cool. Like, it's that seamless for her.
Right.
Like, whereas for me, it's like, all right, I'm gonna bring the creators in. I'm like,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
couple minutes of that.
Yeah, and I would add to that and say, like, when I'm doing channeling work through the Akashic records and channeling people's, higher selves or different aspects of them, their soul self, I feel like, yeah, and I mean, I have so many questions I want to ask you about, actually, because it's so fun to share in this space with someone else that practices, and I should say, like, I feel like we all experience our channeling abilities differently, and I'll just share that, like, the way that I really experience my gifts when I feel like I'm fully, like, in that flow state, and I'm fully in my gift, which is to interpret what I receive as feelings, sometimes images, but really a quality of feeling. I feel the information and that's how I know it's not coming from me. It's not coming from a memory or my mind or my story. It's coming from a higher frequency energy that's sending me this information through feeling, which I feel in my body, or sometimes it resonates as a visual. And then I have the gift of interpreting that in a way that certain beings that come to work with me can really resonate with, can really hear. In a way, it feels like I'm interpreting in their language in a way that they can really, really vibrate with. And yeah, and that's been a journey for me just over the last, I'd say, 4 years, really practicing that, opening up to that, and continuing to deepen in that, with every single person that I'm able to share with. It's really, and having the experience of going into channeling states, just sharing on videos, like sharing and doing live streams, sharing when I'm teaching or speaking, really having those kind of out of body experiences when something else is speaking through me and I'm really not coherent of time, or kind of certain things going on around me. That happened to me last weekend when I was speaking at this event, and yeah, and it's fascinating to be a bridge in that way, right? To allow that ability to come online, to allow that to be that gift to be shared, and to work with the parameters of, like, the third dimensional reality, which requests timing and certain maybe constructs, if we're delivering a talk, to have it be maybe within a little bit more of an organized format. Those are some things that I'm working with at this moment.
Oh, I didn't answer your question about the creators.
Yeah,
Uh,
we can totally. Well, this is a great side note, just to share. What are the different experiences and of channeling, and how do you even know when you're channeling, and what could that look like? What could that feel like? And
right.
to reiterate that it could be different for every single person, and even the way that you prepare to practice channeling. Like, I had some of my clients do this in a group program that I just ran. That's activating your intuition, and you can actually practice channeling with another person by simply getting into coherence with them, taking breaths, taking a deep breath with each other, connecting your heart space,
Mm.
breathing in sync, and then just creating context in a situation to do you allow for me to dial in and dial into your higher self and channel whatever comes through, whatever I'm feeling is most important for me to share with you, to support you on your path. And you create that agreement, and then it's amazing what happens. We can all channel for each other and be these guides when we're really in that practice of allowance and operating in a space of unconditional love, I would say, as well, with the intention to really be of service. Incredible things come, and I've had, like, amazing results happen with people who have never tried anything like that before, and then try on the first time and end up coming through with, like, some amazing insight that's so helpful and mirroring what someone was really wanting validation for or seeking clarification on, or, answering a question. And, so that's a really fun practice that I would offer to anybody listening who wants to start practicing channeling. It's a really fun thing to take into your relationships, friendships. It's a great, great tool. And then back to your question. Yeah. So who are the creators? Who are these?
Because I didn't get a name initially back in 2010. And when I was actually on an Abraham cruise.
You're cruising around with them a lot.
I went on 8 Abraham cruises.
Cool.
Yeah. So this was, I don't know how many months after I had started channeling, and I wanted them to tell me who they were. And I remember just sitting in my room in the dark and like trying so hard to get a name. And this is literally what happened. Pick a friggin', pick a friggin', pick a friggin', pick a friggin', pick a friggin'. Oh, okay. So the woman that I started the process with when I was practicing for those 3 or 4 weeks, she called them grandpa. It sounded to her like a grandfatherly person. So I stuck with that for like a year and a half. And then I did a channeled automatic writing exercise that I had learned from Nora Harold. And during that exercise, I wrote the creators. And I thought, that sounds good. Like that, the truth is they don't have a name. So they don't, the 12th dimension.
Right. No name.
Birth certificates, driver's licenses, they don't have faces, bodies, they know each other. So Yeshua, the Yeshua cloud floats by the Archangel Michael cloud, and they just know each other. If you want to look at it in that way, they just know each other by you can feel the energy coming off that collective right there, which is a totally terrible analogy, but just, that's the way our minds can conceive of it. So, so they don't have a name, but when I got the name The Creators, at the time, I was buying up used Legos on eBay for myself to play with. So I kept making like these spaceships with Legos. I would order them in bulk. So it was like, that's what I used to do when I was a kid. I had these big boxes of Legos, and I just used to build stuff all the time. So I wanted to get back into that in my late 30s. And so I go into the eBay website and I type in Legos. That's all I typed. And the results, the creator. Apparently there's a Lego kind of like branch or set called The Creator. And I just got like tons of those results. And I thought, oh, okay, there's my confirmation. So it's a name that also describes them well, because they have revealed that they're universal architects. So they like to create planets, solar systems, or star systems, galaxies, universes. They co-create, just like when you build a house, it's not like one person or even one group builds a house. You have the electricians, the plumbers, the guys who hammer the nails, and all sort of the architect. So the architect would be like the creators.
And when did it start opening up to you that you were able to channel there's many other beings, maybe infinite other beings that can come through you. And when did that open up to you? When did that?
It was 2013. So it was years after I started. I connected with the fairy Ophelia. And the reason that I connected with her, I had this hike that I used to do in LA. Will Rogers State Park?
Yes.
Yeah. I went back there last December. Man, that drought has really done a number on the plant life there, because it was way different than I remember it. So when I was living there, I used to go through, I would go down. You can go up when you're at Will Rogers and hike in like open space. I like being surrounded by trees and stuff when I hike. So I would go down, and there'd be this one part of the trail where I would always take off my sandals and walk really slow because I felt like this is where the fairies are. And it was a stretch of, just a couple 100 feet, but I would just walk through there really slowly and like feel for them and want to connect with them. And the first thing that came through me with the fairies was a tone. It was a really high pitched tone, like that kind of tone. And then I had a couple spots I used to stop on that hike to sit, and I sat. There's one big tree. I would sit under it. Sometimes I'd fall asleep there. And I think that's the first place I ever channeled Ophelia, the fairy. And so I brought her through probably for like a year's worth of daily messages. And then other beings that started coming through me. I think the Hathors were next. They were completely unexpected. I didn't want to channel the Hathors because I had heard of them, but it wasn't like something that I was like, ooh, I really want to channel the Hathors. They just came through and they said, where are the Hathors? And I was like, okay. And then Archangel Michael came through for the first time at a Nora Herald's retreat. Nora's a common theme in my life here. So she and we used to live like 5 minutes from each other too in Ojai. Wow. So I was at one of her retreats and she's channeling Archangel Michael. She's like, anyone else want to channel Archangel Michael? And I knew that I could feel Archangel Michael within me. So I raised my hand, and the first time I channeled Archangel Michael, it was just a light language. It wasn't tones. It wasn't words in English.
Can you speak a little bit more to what light language is?
Yeah, light language.
And that kind of came online for me this past year, and has been something that I found to be like enormously healing. And I find that it's popping up. I notice it coming out more, like more people sharing about that, being part of their practice and part of their healing. And I'd love to know your experience with that, and also like what it means to you.
I have first of all, my story of how light languages first started coming through me is worth telling. So I had been verbally channeling in English, but no tones, just the English channeling for 6 months. And I was falling in love at the time with my massage therapist. All right. So she knew that I was a channel. She could feel the energy when she'd work on me. She was also clairvoyant and a Wiccan and all these things. So there was a lot of stuff going on in the room when we were there together. And it was May 21st, 2011, the date that this televangelist had billboards all over LA saying this is the end of the world. May 21st, 2011, it's going to be the end of the world. So for me, it was the beginning of my light language. So it starts coming through me while I'm on the massage table getting massaged. So she's massaging me. I'm going, nuka, nikana, nikana, chikana, nuka, anakana, nikana. All these types of words are coming out. And I didn't know what a light language was. So I'd never heard the words light language. I just knew that I was channeling this nonsense. And that night I went home. I got violently ill. I was on the floor in my bathroom, like hoping that I would die, not thinking I was going to die, but just to get the pain out of me that I was in. Had to cancel. I was supposed to go to San Diego County and channel the next day, and I had to cancel. And ever since that day, I would channel that light language every time I'd be on the table with her for like another 7 months. I received massages from her. And then, so that was the initial light language that came through. And that was the only one I spoke for a while. And then at some point, just by raising my vibration, light language would just start popping out of me. Just because like I do a lot of processes before I get out of bed. So I'd be lying in bed, just raising my vibration and then start speaking these light languages. And they come out, and it's not about figuring out, for me anyway, it's not about figuring out what they mean. It's not like, oh, that's French and let's translate it into English. It's more like, this is something that's meant to activate you. it's meant to be understood on a level that goes beyond language and beyond mind.
Feeling.
Yeah. So now I will intend to speak a particular light language that's meant to do something, that's meant to activate something within a person. Like a really popular one on my website, this is really funny, but all these people in China lately have been buying up the light language transmission I did about clearing negative entities and implants from your field and your body.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. Like I'll intend to speak a particular light language with a particular intention, and it comes through me, and it's so. I like it more than I like channeling in English. I like it more than I like channeling tones, because when I channel in English or I channel a tone, I can be kind of critical of myself, and think like, oh, that wasn't very good, or oh, this tone's not very pretty sounding, but with a light language, it's so easy, and it doesn't have to make sense, and it doesn't have to sound pretty. The only time that the inner critic gets involved with that sometimes is like, oh, you keep saying that same word.
There you go, saying raw again.
So sometimes people find a way to be critical, but a lot of times I'm kind of like in awe of it.
Oh, that's such a good feeling. I know exactly what you mean. It's such a beautiful feeling to be in, like, to be a witness, to just like be in full receptivity to, like, that's what I interpret from what you're saying. That's what I resonate with, is that feeling of like just fully allowing this energy to move through and take whatever expression it is meant to take based on whatever intention you set. And it's such a great feeling, because it's like a relief, but it's also like you said, it's like being in awe of this like magic that is possible. And I have been profoundly impacted by light language since first coming across it, I think earlier last year, by another friend who I just had met from Facebook, who earlier on in my journey was like a total guide and activating me to like galactic consciousness and more multidimensionality. And and I just remember her sharing light language on a Facebook live stream, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And I was having these memories come online of like Egypt, and these like memories of there's really interesting like body memories. And she was doing a DNA activation of this like Egyptian like prosperity codes or something like that with her light language. And I just remember how powerful that was. It was almost like a little scary at first, actually, because it was like, wait, what is happening here? Is this like a spell, or like what's going on? And because I felt it so powerfully, like in my being, I felt my body responding like immediately through a screen, nonetheless, right? And it was really, really powerful. And I met a friend in Nicaragua who I'm going to have on the podcast coming up, and she's like just spreading the gospel of light language and helps people to learn how to do it, because in fact, we are all channels, we're all channeling all the time, and how fun to practice your own version of light language. And I found that practice in itself to be very healing, as you said, just to reiterate what you said, like this process of like surrendering the mind, the ego, the tendency to criticize or filter yourself, to just really surrender to like this creativity that wants to come through you, and to like be a witness to the most amazing sounds, syllables, noises that come through. And there's just no way you could even criticize, because it's the most random thing ever expressed. There's no comparison. It's just like how silly are you willing to sound, and how powerful are you willing to be in that silliness? It's like the ultimate ego eradicator. When I've tried to practice, when I've done my own practice in that, it's like, yep, we're going to eradicate this ego right now. So, Daniel, tell me what's up for you. Like, what is your vision? What's your mission now? Having gone through everything you've gone through, having been guided in all the ways that you've been guided to open up to these new energies and these new frequencies, and being this channel that you are for messages. I mean, you send daily messages channeling different entities. I get one in my email box every day, and they're so healing. It's so helpful, and it is so helpful to read the words that are, mirroring back to me how I feel so often. And I know that I have that impact on other people when I'm just writing and channeling from my own, interpretation of perhaps the same energy. Who knows?
Right.
And, and so we all help each other in that way. And but what's like what's the mission that you're really on right now? And is there even like a goal? There's something like coming, something like big that's on the horizon, anything like that that you feel excited about?
The goal for me, first of all, I want to keep doing what I'm doing until
Yeah.
this happens. I want to keep putting out a daily message because I love doing that, because they're not just for all of you, they're for me too. Like I benefit from receiving them. I benefit from doing them. I just love it. So I want to keep working with people one-on-one, group sessions, and I love teaching.
Mhm.
I'm teaching a couple of courses right now, one on accessing and developing your spiritual gifts. I can't remember what the other one is, but you took one of them. So I teach all kinds of different courses that I love to teach, and I love teaching people how to channel too. I love working with people individually and getting them to channel and being there to witness it, like witnessing a child taking its
Yeah.
first step. At some point in the future, I would love to be able to travel more and do this and go to different places and meet with people and have little group sessions, or big group sessions. Not to the extent that Esther Hicks does it. Like, I would never want to be on the road as often as she is.
I'm coming on your cruise ship.
I almost did a cruise right before I moved to Hawaii. They had like, I don't even know how many people, maybe like 10 people signed up to go on this cruise, and then found out like, oh, you can, because you have to wait when you're moving pets to Hawaii, and then found out, oh, you can move before the date of the cruise. And I was like, oh, I don't want to cancel it. But yeah, I have this kind of like fantasy of
Mhm.
me being the one person who can translate for an extraterrestrial race. And so I have a vision of like the extraterrestrial race in their ship, and I'm standing there, and there's like, of course, all these military helicopters around because they're all afraid of like what this. But I'm standing there and I'm like tuning into what the ETs are saying, and I'm translating it, and I'm like giving it to the government people so that they know, like, we all know the government knows about ETs, but there's also the possibility of like a race they haven't ever communicated with before coming, and they would need someone who could do
Yeah.
that. Like that's like the ultimate fantasy. And then of course, to shift to the fifth dimension and help other people get there, like be the guide to help other people along that path of ascension. And then once we're all fifth dimensional, I think it's just going to be a lot more fun to be here.
What do you feel about being in multiple places at once? Because I feel like I have days where I'm there, and then other days where I'm like straddling, or I'm half in, half out. I feel like that's part of, I'll just speak personally, like, I feel like I know I am this bridge, and as this guide, as this, as a teacher, as a bridge, it's like there's part of me where it feels like it's important to resonate, to relate, to remain like relevant, or to be able to speak the language of those beings wanting to ascend, wanting to grow, wanting to awaken, in order so that they can hear and then, be guided along their own path in expansion and healing and transformation, transcendence. And so, yeah, I was feeling that way when I was in Bali. I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm totally in heaven on earth, like 5D fully, like instant manifestation magic, feeling so good. And I'm like, oh, cool. I guess there's like nothing, like I had some of these like major unconscious like fears that I had been kind of working with and processing, just felt like they had totally diminished and they were just gone. It's like, oh, that energy is just gone. It's totally gone. I must be like, I'm done. And then and then a day, there are days, it's waves, right? It's not like we're there. I don't feel like it's like, oh, and then I'm in the fifth dimension and I stay there forever. It's like I feel like I'm in an oscillation of being multidimensional, right? And honoring like new parts of myself that are in different dimensions, and calling those into being, retrieving more parts of myself, as you and I discussed in my session with you, like channeling the creators or the Palladians, and speaking to my, fifth dimensional Palladian soul self, and just there's so much more to explore and learn about our own multidimensionality and our ability to straddle, I would say, different places at the same time at once, right?
I think so. I think what we do is we dip our toe in the fifth dimension for a little while, and then it becomes too hot, and pull it out, because it's like, because we're used to holding a certain vibration. When I got my first cat as an adult, I had a cat when I was a kid, but we never really bonded. But I got this cat named Mrs. Williams when
Wow.
like it was before I started channeling, and she was 16 pounds and gray and white, gorgeous cat. And my ex-wife and I, who adopted her together, we used to look at Mrs. Williams and just be like, she's so cute, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Like, and there is that feeling of like, at times, like there's so much love coming through you, or there's such a high vibration that you literally can't stand it. You can't hold it. And I feel like that's what is happening for a lot of us, where, like, for example, when I was saying to you earlier, I can put myself in this state where I'm receiving goosebumps. My whole body is like that,
Wow.
But I couldn't do that for like an hour, like I can hold this at times. I can just put myself in this really high vibrational place, and I'm practicing it more, like right before I go to bed. But to hold it, it's like, it's like the body's not used to it, the physical body. It's like our consciousness is, wanting to have that familiar experience of where we've been, and what we can relate to. So it is that sort of path of the light worker, I think, or the awakened being, to start making those gradual steps forward, so that it's easier on us when the big waves of energy start coming, that I don't know if you've heard about, but I've been hearing a lot about.
Yes, well, I was feeling it all this past week too. I mean, I feel like it's just always happening, and especially this past like week since the equinox, and the past couple of days, I think that's what I'm experiencing now. I've been feeling like major. I mean, there's also solar flares, there's geomagnetic storms occurring that are actually, impacting the resonance of the earth. But, in preparation for, the inevitable, which is the frequency is only going to continue to rise. And in that, people experience that activation differently, but it can tend to, I notice it can tend to really activate a lot of, unconsciousness and wounding and just shadow stuff, right? Like clear that out so we can be in love, simply put. And that's what happens when the frequency, when the vibration of the planet is rising, and our whole bodies are being challenged to embody, life at a higher vibration, which entails, being a clearer channel, being more receptive, being more open, being more in truth and integrity, all these things. So yeah, there's a big invitation on, for all of us to really seek to be in our, as I say, like our best alignment, our alignment with our truth, with our purpose, with our joy, and really, to enjoy. I mean, that's like the biggest message I get that I've been really clear on in the last, it's a year and a half, is like my mission, as you said, to like, I resonate deeply with what you said, like being a teacher, being able to go around the world and share and connect and and empower and to create heaven on earth, like this notion of remembrance that we're here on the most beautiful planet in all of the universe, multiverse maybe, that's like paradise. And we chose to be here to enjoy this experience and to feel the full spectrum of joy and love that isn't able to even be experienced elsewhere because we have this contrast, this duality available to us on earth that's not available elsewhere. And we chose this, right? So to remember that and work with our material, wounding, our different shadows, all these things that just help us grow and to be fully empowered in that and to enjoy the journey. I feel like that's what I see the next few years. I have this big feeling that something like massive things are happening all the time, in terms of cultural shifts and how we see the collective consciousness like manifesting, like physically we see like, shootings happening and political ramifications and economic ramifications. But I get this feeling that like Donald Trump may be our last president of the United States, and we may be having a completely different economy within the next, like I would say even 5 years, like a completely, like no banks, no, like totally different, right? So massive, massive shifts occurring in the very near future. It may be like 10 years, 20 years, but I get this sense that it's like, it's happening fast. And so we're being called to really rise to that occasion. And, so like I always think of like, what are you being called to contribute? What are you being called to share as your gift? If things are changing so fast and we're getting out of this victim, we're transcending this victim consciousness on the planet.
Yeah.
What are you here to do? What are you here to bring? How are you here to enjoy life? That's what I feel is the collective invitation right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people are, what I hear a lot of people saying in sessions when they're talking to the guides I'm channeling is they don't really know what to do.
Yes.
And part of that is because those major changes haven't happened yet. So it's kind of like what's available to us is the old way in a lot of ways, to live in the third dimensional way. Or I think it's unsatisfying for a lot of people to go through that experience that I know I've actually really enjoyed going through the experience of moving in 2010 from where I was to becoming a channel, even though it was just a lot of me sitting alone in a dark, quiet room. I think that I owe everything that I have in my life right now to that. To my willingness, first of all, to accept my ascension symptoms, which were extreme tiredness. So just saying, instead of saying like, oh, I'm really tired, I should take like, drink a lot of coffee or something, which never felt good to me to do. So I would meditate instead, and that's what was the cure for me. And I, like I said, I think that if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't taken that path, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it's really, doing nothing is really an important thing for people to embrace right now, and realize that if you just go within, it's not just a selfish, solitary act either, because whenever you're raising your own vibration, you're anchoring in higher frequency energies that will help the entire collective. You're connecting with all sorts of other beings. So there's a lot to be done without doing anything at this point. There's a lot that can be accomplished.
Thank you for that reminder, being. And this is so like the feminine energy, the feminine rising, and our whole new paradigm of leadership and co-creation of our new ways of being together and harmony, and like taking care of our planet and, creating amazing livelihoods. And, I would say too, in that introspection process, it's like there's so much inspiration available. And if people are feeling like, I don't know what to do, it's because you may not feel like you have options within the old paradigm as it exists, but maybe you're being asked to create something completely new that doesn't exist yet. And to really listen to your intuition, to your soul, that has the whole map for whatever that is that you're meant to bring through. And to do that due diligence and trusting and taking action and moving through the old fears and doubts or anything that would have you believe that you can't do exactly what you're here to do and
Yeah.
be who you're here to be. And yeah, oh man, that's such a powerful reminder that one of the most, efficient, productive things you could ever do is to like create time in your life to be and to be still and to receive. And even if you don't feel like you're channeling or interacting with higher beings or whatever you are, and to just, I always find so much solace in this, like just acknowledgement that we are so, and I get this from your messages, Daniel, from your like emails, like we are so guided, we're so loved, we're so like cheered on by infinite beings throughout other dimensions that are like literally watching us, learning from us, experiencing through us, feeling through us, and just like they're so in love with us and want our best, want the best for us and are supporting us in being our best selves. And I just, it's such a beautiful thing to tune into, regardless of what you believe in. It's a really fun thing to believe in, and I find that as you start to just explore and adventure into what that could mean for you and your own capacity to connect with that energy, to channel that energy, there's just infinite ways of that expression that can come through. We each have such a unique way of expression. Like I'm excited about what happens in the world when everybody is really opening their intuition and sharing and expressing their unique signature of energy, right? Like I'm so excited about what is possible, like the creativity that's possible, the real innovation that's possible. Like I just can't wait. I mean, that's already happening. That's the world that I live in. I'm so blessed to be surrounded by people that live in that world. But the more people living like that, the more exciting, the more fun it will be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You
Yeah,
meet everybody. Everybody's a
meet everybody.
puzzle.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. Oh, well, Daniel, thank you so much for sharing today. I had so much fun connecting with you, and I feel like I have so many, like I have more, there's like more to go. There's always more to go. There's infinite more to explore. And I look forward to continuing our connection and who knows, other ways that we may work together and support one another in this amazing adventure. And just before we end, I'd love to have you share with the listeners where they can find you, where they can reach you, and if you have any specific invitations that you'd like to offer.
Well, my website is danielscranton.com. So Daniel, but first name Scranton is spelled just like Scranton, Pennsylvania, from The Office. and, .com. And I am running a sale right now, 50% off of just about everything. Just like one-on-one working with me, where I teach channeling, all the recordings and meditations I have on the site. So it's a good time to get on there and sign up for that daily email.
Yeah.
So you get the latest from the Arcturian Council, who I've been channeling for over a year now.
Yes. So amazing. Oh, thank you so much. And I can't wait to meet you someday in person, whether that's in Hawaii or LA at some point. And for now, I'm just so grateful for our connection. Thank you so much for all that you contribute, all that you share, all that you are. I really appreciate you and so grateful to share with you here. And until next time, we'll talk again soon. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.